All right, let's talk about Canada. We're going to test your knowledge today, but this is not your average pop quiz. We're digging a little deeper, looking at the stories behind some of those classic Canadian facts.
So, you think you're a Canada expert, eh? Well, let's put that to the test. I've got a few questions here that I think, well, they just might surprise you. You ready? Let's dive in.
Okay, first up, let's get into the nitty-gritty, power and politics. We're going to take a look at how the Canadian government actually works and figure out who's really in charge.
All right, first question. And, this is one that trips a lot of people up. Who actually elects the Prime Minister of Canada? Is it A, the monarch, maybe B, the Governor General, C, Canadian citizens, or D, members of Parliament? Take a second. Think about it.
And the answer is D, members of Parliament. Now, this one is super important because it gets right to the heart of how Canada's whole system of government is set up. So here's the deal. It all comes down to Canada's parliamentary system, which they got from Great Britain. See, it's not like a presidential system where you vote directly for the big boss. Nope. In Canada, you vote for your local representative, your member of parliament, or MP. Then, whichever political party wins the most of those seats, well, their leader usually gets asked to form the government and becomes prime minister. It's kind of indirect, right? The whole point is to make sure the government is always answering to the folks who were actually elected. Okay, let's stick with Parliament for a minute, but flip over to the other side, the Senate, Canada's upper house. What's its main job? Is it A, to propose taxes, B, to represent voters, C, to review and revise laws, or D, to enforce laws? And if you went with C, review and revise laws, you nailed it. Yeah, the Senate is often called the chamber of sober second thought. Think of it like this. Its main job is to be a final check on the power of the elected House of Commons. Senators who are appointed, by the way, not elected, get to review, tweak, and sometimes even reject bills before they become law. It's a system of checks and balances. But, the fact that they're appointed, that's a whole other conversation and a pretty hot topic in Canadian politics. All right, section 2. We're shifting gears now, moving away from the halls of power and focusing on the role that we as citizens play in all of this.
Okay, this is a pretty fundamental question for any democracy. What's the official voting age in Canada? Is it 16, 17, 18, or 21?
And the correct answer is C, 18 years old. That's right, 18. That's the magic number when you get the right and the responsibility to vote in Canadian elections. But what's really interesting is that it wasn't always 18. The voting age used to be 21. They lowered it way back in 1970, which was a pretty big deal. It reflected this huge shift in society and basically brought a whole new generation of Canadians into the democratic process overnight. Okay, next up is a date that holds a really deep meaning for Canadians. What is Remembrance Day all about? Is it A, celebrating Confederation, B, honoring war veterans, C, celebrating independence, or D, remembering Aboriginal heritage? The answer, of course, is B, honoring war veterans. It's truly one of the most solemn and important days on the Canadian calendar. So every single year, on November 11th, at exactly 11 a.m., the entire country just pauses for 2 minutes of silence. It's a really powerful tradition, and it marks the exact moment the fighting stopped in World War I back in 1918. But today, it's grown to be a moment to remember the incredible sacrifices of all Canadians who've served in war, in conflict, and in peace. Okay, we're on to our final section. Let's talk about the stuff that really makes up the Canadian identity. We're talking everything from the economy to those iconic national symbols. First up, the economy. Which of these industries is a huge deal in Canada? We've got A, fishing, B, forestry, C, energy, or is it D, all of the above? You got it. If you said D, all of the above, you are absolutely correct. And this is a really important point to get. I mean, sure, Canada has a super modern economy with technology and services and all that, but its identity, its whole story, is just so deeply connected to its incredible natural resources. You've got fishing on the coast, massive forest across the country, and a huge energy sector out west. These aren't just jobs, they're the pillars that have literally shaped the country's history and its politics. All right, here we are, the final question, and we have to end with Canada's most iconic symbol. What color is the maple leaf on the Canadian flag? Is it green, red, white, or gold? Of course, it's B, a brilliant, bold red.
You know, there's a ton of meaning packed into that simple design. The red stripes are said to represent the sacrifices of Canadian soldiers going all the way back to World War I. The big white space in the middle, that's for peace and tranquility. And get this, while the maple leaf has been a symbol for Canada for ages, the flag itself is actually not that old. It was only adopted in 1965 after this massive, really emotional national debate about what the flag should even look like.
And that's it for our little quiz. So how'd you do? Be honest, did any of the answers or maybe the stories behind them catch you by surprise? Look, these questions about politics and history and symbols, they give us a good snapshot of the country. But what we've seen is that behind every simple fact, there's a much deeper, more complicated story. So it makes you think, beyond all these facts, what does being Canadian really mean to you? It's not a simple answer, is it? It's this complex identity that's always changing, shaped by history, by the land itself, and by the conversations we all have. Thanks so much for joining me for this.